What's going on? Coach Aubrey here, and I am doing a 3-part series, this being the first part, on show prep. This video that you're watching today is going to be all about whether or not you should show prep. Should you compete? How do you know? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about what to expect when you do decide to compete. That's going to be in this video you're watching. There are 2 videos to follow. The second one is going to be about figure and physique mandatory poses. So those beautiful comparison poses that they line us up and have us do on stage, I'm going to be putting my heels on as well as kicking them off for the second video to show you women's physique and figure mandatory poses. The third video of this 3-part series is sort of like a bonus, and that is going to be all about women's physique division posing, because there are additional poses in women's physique division that are not part of figure. So that will be in the third video. So this first video is going to apply to basically anybody who's thinking they might want to compete, or maybe you've decided you're going to compete and you want to know what to expect. That's what this video is going to tell you all about. And I want to go ahead and say like and subscribe if you're getting value from this, or if you've gotten value from this channel, because it lets me know that I can keep making these videos, that people are, getting value from them. So please like and subscribe. And as always, reach out to me, the Body Sculpting Coach, on Instagram, or Aubrey Whitley at Facebook. I would love to chat, always. So let's dive into show prep. All right. How do you know you should compete? First question. It's going to seem obvious, but you need to ask yourself, do you enjoy bodybuilding? You would think that everybody that competes does, but you'd be surprised at the people that either feel pressured into competing by a friend or maybe a coach at their gym told them that they should compete, and they feel this sort of pressure to do it. It's okay if you feel that internal pressure, if you want to challenge yourself, that's one thing. But if you're feeling external pressure to compete and you really don't enjoy how you have to eat and train to really build your body, competing might not be for you. So that's the first thing to consider is, do you enjoy training and eating this way to sculpt your body? If you do, you might want to think about competing. So we'll move on to the next question. How are you financially right now? I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off, because if you're really tight on money, you're going to have a stressful prep. I'm not saying you have to completely go broke doing show prep, but you're going to spend more than you're probably expecting. I believe my first show, this was a local show, and I didn't have to pay for my coach. I had a friend help me. So not even thinking about coaching, I think I spent about $1,000 between my suit, and that's cheap for show prep, my suit, my shoes, and entry. And it might've been more, it might've been closer to $2,000 actually. That's without a coach. So with a coach, you can pretty much triple that. So it's expensive. It is expensive to compete, but it's worth it if it's something that you want to do. If it's something that your heart desires, that you want to challenge yourself to do, it's worth it. But just make sure that this isn't something that you just want to, experiment with and you're on a tight budget, because that's not going to be fun. So expect to spend some money. And the other thing would be support. I always ask people when they come to me for show prep, they want to be coached. I ask, how is your home life? Like, how's your support at home? Because if you've got a spouse who is kind of nagging at you the whole time or picking on you for what you're doing, you really have to take an honest evaluation and say, am I willing to go through this for 12 to 20 weeks? Am I willing to do this all by myself and come home to this? And it sounds kind of harsh, but I'm just being real with you because I've seen this happen. You really do need to talk to your partner, and you do need to talk to the people who are close to you, and just make sure you have support. Same with coaching. So if you don't know how to prep for a show, you need to use a coach. There might be a friend that can help you if there's a friend who's a coach, but you won't be doing yourself any favors by trying to navigate this on your own, especially if it's your first prep. So do your research. Don't go based off of what other people say. If there's a coach you're interested in, look that coach up. Hear about what their philosophy is. Get to know them a little bit, and then make a decision. Because it's a pretty intimate relationship, because you're talking almost every day, especially leading up to prep. You are sending pictures of yourself to this person. You are trusting this person to guide you with the food you're putting in your body, with how you're training, with your whole process. And it's a big sacrifice. So just make sure you do your research on your coach. That's all I'm saying. Also, I've got to give this warning because I see it all the time. If a coach has a team of people, don't let that entice you. Don't think that just because this coach has this huge following and it has the person has this whole team of people, that's going to be the best prep coach, because it's actually the opposite a lot of the time. If they have a whole bunch of clients, ask yourself if you think they'll be able to really give you a lot of one-on-one attention. The other thing is, if they're charging $100 a month, they're not your prep coach. I'm just going to go ahead and say that, unless you're okay with not getting a lot of attention. Like if you're okay with basically getting the same plan as everyone else and hoping for the best, that's what a team usually does, especially if you're not paying much for it. So you pay for value. I'll just say that. So really do your research, work with someone that you really trust. So that would be my last thing is, do you have a coach? Do you have somebody that you can trust take you through this process? So if you go through all those questions and you're like, yes, I'm in, I'm all in, let's move on to show prep and what you can expect. And I just want to say, I hope none of this is sounding like negative or, like I'm hating on coaches or anything like that. All I'm doing is just sharing with you what I've been through personally as an athlete and what I see all the time as a coach. So a lot of people could use this video, I know, and that's why I'm making this. So I don't mean to be negative. I just don't want to sugarcoat anything. Because prep can be a phenomenal experience. Hence why I've done it multiple times. I love doing it. I love helping people do it. I think it's so fun. So if you decide this is for you, let's go on to what you can expect, starting with the coaching. I can say as an athlete and as a coach, the way coaching works for a prep athlete is very different than the way coaching works for a lifestyle athlete, because prep is all in. It's sort of like, it's not as serious as war, obviously, but you got to have that mentality that like you're going to war, like you're all in. Because if you're halfway in, you're not really doing show prep. You got to be all in. That's why I was saying, talk to your spouse, talk to your support system, make sure they're on board, because a lot of your capacity is going to be taken up with show prep. So with coaching, you should expect to have very specific directions. If your coach isn't giving you very specific directions for show prep, have a conversation with them. And it might be, you might need to switch coaches. I hate to say it, but find somebody that's going to give you a very detailed nutrition plan, a very detailed training plan, that fits you. Like if you look at it and it looks like anybody could do this, or, you're realizing that maybe details you're telling them about your physique or your process, they aren't being heard, pay attention to that, because there's so many people to work with. So you want to work with somebody that's going to give you that one-on-one attention and give you the best experience. Because at the end of the day, you want to bring your best package to stage. Okay. And so for coaching, expect to follow that coaching to a T. This isn't lifestyle coaching. So when you get into prep coaching, everything matters. Every ounce of water you put in your body matters. Every ounce of meat, every step you take should be tracked. You don't want to add on any work. You don't want to take away anything from the plan your coach has given you. Because with show prep, you're so dialed in that even the smallest variable that you change will have an impact. At least it should. That's how tight you should keep it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, that's intense, I don't know if I could be that strict, you might want to give yourself a little more time just to be a bodybuilder, to just practice building that discipline. So that way, when you do go into show prep, it's more enjoyable, honestly. You'll build discipline over time. I'm the first to say that. I used to have the worst discipline. So if you are that person that struggles with discipline, don't be discouraged and think you can never do a show. Just know that that discipline builds over time. So make sure you've built that discipline, before you go into a show. Otherwise, it's just really tough. And I can tell you that firsthand. The other thing is there's a lot of additional training that you'll do during show prep that you might underestimate before you get started. Things like posing. You'll spend hours and hours learning how to pose. And the 2 videos that come with this series, I'm going to go through women's physique and figure posing. Those are just 2 divisions, but posing has to look like it feels very natural, even though it feels super uncomfortable at first. So you have to do it over and over and over again. And you need to have a good posing coach that'll teach you how to do these things. If you have any questions about posing coaching, prep coaching, always reach out to me. I'm happy to guide you. And I will be very honest if I'm not the coach for you or if something is just outside of my scope of practice. But don't hesitate to shoot me a message. It won't hurt. And so there's a lot of to-dos leading up to the show. You also need to think about things like getting your suit. There's different suits for different divisions. If your division requires heels, you'll have to get heels, the see-through kind. And there's requirements. There's standards for all of this stuff. Standards for the suit, standards for the heels. There's even standards sometimes for like your hair and makeup. And that's the other thing I'll go into is those are the little expenses that add up right before the show. So in my opinion, you want to have somebody do your makeup unless you know how to do stage makeup, not just makeup, but if you know how to do stage makeup, it's a much darker, more intense color. I always suggest my athletes just hire the people who are at the show. I've done it both ways where I've had these, personal stylists that come on the side, or I might get like a personal person to tan me. And it didn't make any difference. I didn't feel like I looked back at those pictures and thought I looked like way better than everyone else. So if you just keep it simple, just hire the person who is working for the show to do your tan, your hair. That way it's all gonna be right there at the facility that the show's at. The simpler you can keep the day of the show, the better. So I always go ahead and book my tanning and my makeup as soon as it opens up. I try to get the best time slots and they'll work with you on this stuff. I register for my classes as soon as I can, and I get my suit and my heels as soon as I can. And then that way, as I get closer to the show, I have less and less stress. So you just want to keep an eye out on things. And when those bookings open and you have the opportunity to sign up for your classes, sign up for tanning, for makeup, for hair, go ahead and get on it. That way you can choose the best time slots. But I would keep it simple. I would keep it really simple. Use the people that the show's hired, keep everything at the show. If you're traveling from out of town, you might find that the hotel that the show's at is quite expensive, but a lot of times they do deals if you're part of the show. If you can swing it, it's way easier just to stay at that hotel that the show's at. I understand if it's too expensive and it's fine to use another hotel, but again, the more simple you can keep it, the better. So, the other thing I want to talk about is as you get close to your show, you're going to feel worn down. Your calories are going to be really low. Not all the time. Different preps for different people, but they're going to be lower than they are when you're not in prep. We can agree on that. So you're not going to have much food. You're going to be doing more cardio and you'll get sort of a fuzzy brain, I call it, where you're not really thinking super straight. You might be making some silly mistakes. And so that's why you want to have a coach that guides you, that you really trust to make those calls for you, especially the day of the show. When should you pump up? When should you be carbing up before the show? What should you be eating? Even as a coach, it's really hard for me show day to sometimes make rational decisions because I'm not functioning at an optimal capacity mentally. So use somebody, use help. And the other thing about being worn down is your family will feel it. So it takes a toll on, your time with your partner, your time with your kids. It can be a selfish sport, so talk to your family about it. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I coach, so I have a lot of people that do depend on me. And what I try to do is I try to be very transparent with them. Even my clients, I'll say when I'm getting close to a show, I'll say, this is what's going on, guys. Like, I'm going to make office hours because right now I can't respond to you, any time of the day. Just little things to keep people in the loop. You want to have that support system really tight and on the same page as you. And so get a coach that's going to support you every step of the way. Make sure your spouse or your partner is on board with this. And then as far as show day, just don't expect it to go as planned. There's always going to be curveballs. Nothing is something that's so bad it can't be fixed. At the end of the day, maybe you forget to walk on stage. That would suck. But just remember, it's a show. I know it's important. You've put everything you have into it pretty much. But just remember, at the end of the day, you've got to keep life in perspective. You're choosing to do this. And so anytime you want to complain or anytime you feel worn down, just remind yourself, I'm choosing this. I get to do this. I don't have to do this. I get to do this. It's a really cool sport. It's really fun to see what you can turn your physique into. Just the transformation is incredible. So have fun with it and just remember to keep it in perspective. It's a sport, it's a hard sport, but it is a sport at the end of the day. So you don't want to ever put it before your family or before things that are very important in your life. But you need to have that talk with them that for a while, this needs to come first when it can. That's pretty much how I put it. And then the night before the show, you'll probably tan. And like I said, you'll either stay at the host hotel, or if you're doing a local show, you might be able to stay at your own place. And they'll give you guidance, the tanning people will. They'll tell you to put your bed sheets down, sheet over your bed sheets so you don't ruin your bed sheets, and how to wear your robe the night before. There's all these little tricks. It took me a couple shows to learn that I could use dryer sheets under my armpits because you can't use deodorant with your tan. So to keep the, stench okay, dryer sheets under your armpits. Who'd have thought? So there's all these little tricks that you'll pick up along the way. And then around the show, you just want to get plenty of sleep. And your coach will tell you this. The night before, sleep is so important. And then you wake up. A lot of times people don't even feel hungry because it's show day. You're so excited, So at that point, you're a robot. You're a robot and your body's like an object. Your coach should be looking at you, should be checking in every so often to make sure that your conditioning looks good, make sure you're carbing up good into the show. And you got to work with someone that you can pretty much blindly follow the day of the show, because you're not going to be operating at full capacity, like I said before. So you want somebody that can make those judgment calls that you fully trust. When to eat, when to not eat, when to pump up, etc. And then the day of the show, just try to relax. If you have a lot of noise around you, it's hard. So a lot of times you'll have like family come to the show and, friends, and everyone wants to support you, and it's so awesome. But I suggest if you're feeling overwhelmed, keep it simple. Like, it's cool if your family shows up, but they don't have to come backstage. You know what I mean? So before you go on stage, I would chill, get that cortisol low, get that stress hormone low. So just chill, kick your feet up, listen to some music, read a book if you want. Don't do more than you have to do. Just go easy on yourself and keep it simple. And then the hard work is done. That's what most people underestimate, is you've won your show in prep leading up to the day of the show. You don't win the show the day of the show. You've prepped your physique throughout the entire prep, and especially through your grow season. That's really important too. I always tell my athletes, you win your show in the off season. In the grow season, when you're growing that muscle, when you're doing the hard work to get your physique to grow the way you need it to, that's when you win your show. Then you cut through prep, and walking on stage is like the icing on the cake. That's like you've done all the work at that point. Then you just walk on stage. If you think about it like that, it doesn't make it such a big deal. And it's really not a big deal. You've done the work. Now, if you haven't done the work and you've been eating like a total jerk and falling off your plan, you're going to be a nervous wreck the day of the show. I would too, but you're not. You stay on your plan, you eat right, you train right, and then it's just a matter of walking on stage. They'll throw a tan on you. Your water, your salt's going to be manipulated because you're going to have a good coach telling you how to do it. And then it's just a matter of showing off what you worked for. So try to enjoy it. I really hope this video helped. This is just an intro to what to expect and also how to know if you should compete. If you want to talk more about this, or you're like, I'm still on the fence about competing, I wanted to know a little bit more about what this is like, as I said, you can always message me. Again, The Body Sculpting Coach on Instagram, or Aubrey Whitley on Facebook, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you decide to compete, because it is one of the most enjoyable experiences you can have in your life. It's really rewarding. You just got to do it right, and you got to do it at the right time. So look out.